Welcome back to the Team Bandit Gang channel, and we have another episode of the Falcon Report, which is where it's a podcast series where your favorite Team Bandit Gang members have a chat about anything and everything Gwent, pretty much. And today we have, a slightly different panel from the last episode. Unfortunately, you still have me and Bomblin. I'm sure by now you guys might be tired of seeing our faces, but we're gonna be here until new faces decide to offer. I mean, they did offer, but time zone's gonna always be a pain. And we have Ian, the competitive manager, who now has a webcam, so you can now see him. And we have a new, not really new because he is a familiar face in Twitch. We have Zigzag Guy. Go ahead and introduce yourself, buddy.
Hello, yeah, I'm Zigzag Guy from Twitch. I'm pretty much I think the only Thai guy who actually stream Gwent on Twitch right now. So you guys probably already know me, or maybe some of you guys who actually never seen my face before. You guys can also check me out on twitch.tv/Zigzag Guy, basically.
See, I don't even need to ask him to plug. He's already doing it. Look at that. It's how you know he's used to this kind of stuff. Look at that.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, yeah, you saw last episode, I had to tell him to plug their stuff because I don't think they've ever done it before, but clearly you're experienced, so that's good to know. All right, so
thank you.
Today's topic, at least main topic, is going to be non-changing metas. So, essentially, we've come a time where we have a meta that's going to last 2 months. And I know there's been differing opinions on Twitter, on Reddit. Some people, understand that, people take holidays off, and other people are there's these big issues that need to be solved. So these, and honestly, I kind of agree, these were problems that we saw, months before the holiday. So that's why, they haven't really let go of that complaint. And so we're going to see what some of your Team Bandit Gang members think about this. So again, we'll have Ian go last because I know he has a lot to say about this for sure, being a competitive manager. And I think it's nice actually to get someone from the competitive side of things to see what their opinion is, because up to this point it's mostly been streamers and content creators. But getting someone who has a pro mentality or pro mindset would be a good, because it's probably going to be different. So we'll have the guests start first. Go ahead, Zigzag. What do you think about 2-month metas? I guess we'll just call it that, 2-month metas. Sounds nice.
Yeah. So for me, right, I think for this is actually not the first time as well that it's actually happened before. So usually every time when there's gonna be a new expansion coming out, they will say that, okay, the month before that, nothing will be changed, basically. So, everything will be exactly the same, no balance change, because, they kind of, don't really want to, touch new, a card that much. So then, when the new card come out, then it's easier to, balance and stuff like that. So, that usually gonna be, the reason, they give us all the time. So, this time, right, I think... So, okay, let's just talk about, the bad side first for, having, a 2-month, meta thing is... the first thing is, this game is a game that, you don't really have, a lot of card yet. So, of course, it's still, a new card game compared to, other card games that, already been out for, a long time ago. So, when you have, not really have, that many card roster, meta is kind of, very, not that, big. Not, how do I say, diverse or something like that.
Yeah.
So stuff that people are going to be playing, it's going to be the thing you see all the time, over and over again. You play this deck and you queue into something, you will exactly know that what you're going to face, basically. And that's going to be like that for a whole month and stuff like that. So for a player who play a lot of games during 1 month, they will feel a little bit too repetitive, basically. It's gonna be this again, and this again, over and over. And also this also affect to people who actually creating content as well, especially YouTube content creator and also streamer that usually stream daily. I also stream daily myself, so it's super hard to come up with something new when you know exactly what you're gonna go against it, basically. And that's actually the side that I don't really like that much. And the other thing that I need to want to talk about is the part that this time they did not let us know as well that there will not gonna be the balance change, basically. So if they told us earlier, then we can kind of like prepare for it, for example, or something like that. So that's like the thing that like I kind of like want to like address like up a little bit on that part. Yep.
Pause. Wait, my Discord got
Oh.
ruined. Then Pies in the chat. yes, General Manager. What do you need?
Just wanted a cameo. See you guys later.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
Okay, you know what? I'm keeping this in. I'm keeping that in. Go ahead, Zigzag. Continue.
No. Where? Oh, okay.
Continue.
That's perfect.
Okay, all right, got
I'm
it.
keeping that in.
So yeah, that's kind of like my point. So like, I mean, I want to get like hear you guys more. What do you guys think about it, basically?
Yeah,
So that's kind of
so
like, you know.
I'm usually super bored of every single deck. Like if you even watch my
Mhm.
stream or watch my YouTube, I make like different deck every 2 days. I'm instantly bored of anything. That's why I wouldn't be able to be a pro player ever, because I would have to grind the same decks all over again. And I'm just too bored of it. So each month, each new balance, even a single like card change is for me like super glorious thing, because even when I get like one change, like one card, I can make like 10 decks with it. Like we are having a new card, even though it's probably gonna be crap cards from a like pro perspective. I can at least make like one deck from each faction with it, so at least I can experiment a little bit. That's why I really want any change on any month or any season, because even a slight provision change can make a huge difference, like with Roach, and it basically reintroduced Nilfgaard to us, or like any small provision changes, or like with Nausicaa Sergeant, you know. My biggest issue with this season and this like no balance changes was the way they announced it, which was basically they didn't announce it. We had to find it in a reply to one of the tweet, which is, to be honest, terrible. And when they answered, well, you could have like known because last year we didn't have a change after Christmas. This is a little bit sketchy. I don't know how to describe it better. It's like I don't. Well, you know, during the year we have new players. One Christmas doesn't change that this Christmas we won't see changes. Like that's a lot of assumptions. I just want them to, I don't know, make an official statement on their website, on their official Twitter or something. But responding to the tweet is a little bit crap approach to my, to be honest. I expected a little bit more from it. Like the timing is not that bad, because if they would tell us that they have no changes prepared like after 1 week of the season, maybe people would like not play after like a week, but because they would assume that, okay, no changes, I'm not gonna play for 1 month. So probably timing was okay, but the delivery, the way they delivered it was, in my honest opinion, terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like the fact that a lot of us figured out from a response to a tweet, definitely not the most communicative way. Like definitely should have put something up on the website. Now, of course, he did mention, I think I saw another response where it's like they thought it was common knowledge that people would take breaks over the holidays from this kind of stuff. I mean, yes, that is true, but it's like the game's only been out for, well, if we're going from Homecoming, because, you know, a lot of the audience have come from Homecoming, which has only been 2 years. So
exactly. And also we had like a mobile release in this year, so people like came in like March, or we had a Steam release, so people came in like May or whatever it was released. So they didn't know the history, and I don't expect them to like Google what happened last year and what happened 2 years ago. Like you cannot really have a pattern after 1 year.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it could seem redundant to their end to keep saying it every Christmas, but I think you have to do it because especially if you're getting new players to come in to play this game, they're not gonna know, right? How are they gonna know unless you tell them, especially on the website? Because not everyone has Twitter, right? So it's like they're not gonna know.
Yeah,
You're not gonna know unless
exactly.
you have Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, then you're gonna be like, how come there's no changes? Like, what's going on? And then you're gonna get a lot of people complaining on Reddit or whatever social media site they do have, and they're going to, you know, unleash their anger there.
Also, like we have to remember that even with this, like Twitter and Reddit, these are like, I know a lot of people and probably the biggest social platforms for Gwent, but it's like still probably like, I don't know, 10% of the people playing are there. It's not like everyone is checking all of these websites. And also it's a reply to a random tweet. So you also had to follow exactly Paweł Burza and exactly in this day see the
Yep.
tweet basically
Yeah,
to know the
exactly.
changes.
It's a response
Yeah.
too, not even a tweet. It's more of a response. It's even gonna be even harder. And going to what Zigzag's like about as on a content creator side of things, yeah, like if you have a 2-month meta, it's gonna be tough to come up with creative decks because A, the collection is still pretty small, and B, a lot of the decks that we're gonna have is usually some variant of a deck that's already out there. Because like what other way can you present decks that aren't already existing, right? Like you can change a card or 2 cards and make a video out of it and like, oh, look at that, it's a completely original deck. Like, no, it's not. There's so many versions
exactly.
of that kind of deck already out there. But I mean, like, what can
Yeah.
you do, right, on a very small collection?
Yeah,
And
it's a little bit too small. And also another thing is, like, when you want to create something new, right? You have to also make it good as well. It's not just like, oh, I make something new, but it's crappy. It's not win like a single game or something like that. So you basically have to like build something from like the small collection that also can compete with like the meta that like already exists. And that's just like a little bit tough when like the meta is like basically stick the same, so people already know exactly how to play like the deck. There's no more experimental, mostly just like, oh, okay, yeah, people already built this deck and this deck is good, so I'm just gonna play this deck over and over again. So
yeah,
for somebody who like try to like find something new to compete with like the existing deck, it's a little bit tough as well. That's another thing. Yep.
for sure. And so as you guys noticed, there's been one guy that hasn't been talking the entire time. I'm not leaving him out. Personally, I enjoy his banters, but now we're gonna hear it from someone on the pro side. Ian, what do you think about having 2-month metas? Because I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the last.
Yeah, you're right. It's not new. It's not going to be the last one. My main gripe with it, especially for this one, is that there's so many things that I didn't like about this meta. Especially that they released a bunch of cards that, you change the provisions, here or there, doesn't really. They have time to fix a bunch of the wording for cards, and they decide to add premium stratagems have new unique visual and sound effects when their orders are used. You have time to do that. It's not like you don't have time to change a couple of numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially since you hear it from the competitive side, yeah, these cards aren't balanced. Vi isn't balanced, right? In theory, you could play it for 8 points if you really wanted to. You can make a full Insectoid deck with 1 Vi and no consumes. Hey, I played an 8-point card. It's balanced, right? But nobody's going to play it like that. People are always going to play it for its maximum potential if they want to be competitive in any sort of way.
Exactly.
So my gripe with something like this, and it's not like, before an expansion, they decide not to touch anything. That I understand, right? Because they want to see how things fit together with the new cards. But with this, it's pretty evident that some of the cards are just either not good enough to be played at all, or too good and are overplayed. And for that reason, I don't want to play the game. That, being completely honest, I haven't played since the 30th, and I'm not going to play until they do a balance patch. I don't see a point in playing because I know I'm going to get upset when I play. I'm going to run into the same thing all the time, right? And this leads into my next point: is they made the season way too long. I understand that they had a bug, that delayed the patch a week. That's fine, but it was a 34-day season to begin with. And you tack on those 7 days, it's a 41-day season. That's ridiculous. Like, I don't know if you guys have known about this, but I've been compiling numbers for MMR cutoffs for top 64, top 200, and top 500. The top 500 cutoff for this season is going to be, I'm like, this is coming out after the numbers are going to be like confirmed, but from what I last saw, it was 10,029. Right? And yeah, it's inflated, obviously, a 41-day long season, but that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And they're making the competitive season, the first one, 21 days long. So you're going to look at the numbers for that, and it's going to be like, why are these numbers so much lower now? right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't mind that the meta is going to stay the same. It's just the way they went about it, and especially with new cards, you have to tweak those. It's not like that you had Harmony being strong for half a year, right? Because those cards have been around since before I even started playing. So yeah, and like their reasoning behind it is we don't see a need in touching these cards because the data hasn't shown that these cards need to be adjusted, but they're looking at it from a standpoint of a non-competitive player,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you look at it on the competitive side, right, anyone
Yeah,
should be
exactly.
able to get a Vi deck to 2550, right? You jam enough games and you get it to 2550. That's the really only way that you're gonna do stuff like that. I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm quite unhappy with that decision. I would have been fine had they touched a couple of cards. It's not even just Vi, right? There are a couple other cards that they probably could have adjusted, even the bad ones. Maybe lower the provisions, boost the base power, change the adrenaline, requirements.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also,
So
we have incoming very short competitive season, and it's the first one of the new season of Masters. And because it's already like a sort of experimenting one, because it's short and people don't know how to react to it, and we still don't know when it's gonna start. To be honest, we don't know if it's gonna be Monday, Tuesday, or whenever.
They just said a
So
week,
Mhm.
right?
yeah, they said
Yeah,
that
they say, like,
early
early
next week,
week.
but we
Yeah.
don't know what does it mean. So if we are experimenting already, why not change few cards like by provision? You can just
exactly.
change 5 cards by one provision, and it's already gonna change the meta. If it's gonna make something super strong randomly and you didn't expect it, people will figure out it after like a week probably, and then you have only 2 weeks of this sort of a broken meta, but we already have sort of a broken meta. So if we create new broken meta for just 2 weeks, it's not a big deal. So why not experiment with it a little bit? And come on, I know that there was a Christmas season, but 41 day just to give us a little bit of provision, it's like, I don't know. I never designed the game, I know, and I don't know about balance, but even if you create this unbalanced thing for like 2 weeks, it's not a big deal, right? Than living more than 2 months of the unfunny Lippy lockdown V trio, basically.
Exactly. It's a very, very nasty meta, this one.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
you know what this extra week does is it gives them an opportunity to change the numbers, because their reasoning is we didn't have time because of the holidays. Fine, people are going to go on holidays. You might
That is true.
not have time to look at the game in depth, but having the extra week, 7 to 10 days, you'd have no excuse to not do anything, and in my opinion, they shouldn't even have a competitive season for 3 weeks. They should just, delay it for another 3 weeks until the beginning of February, right? And then be like, okay,
that
now
big
we're
change
starting
is
this.
happening. Yeah.
And
exactly.
end this season now, have a short inconsequential off season where people can just be like, yeah, I want to, get back into the groove of things, because I know a lot of players took time off. Like I looked at the rankings and Tailbot's like up there right now, so you can tell he's kind of getting back into the swing of things, and I'm sure Demarcation and those guys are all going to be playing a lot of games again. But a 3-week season, not even 3 weeks. I think at this point it's probably going to be 2.5 weeks.
2.5, yeah.
There's no point, right?
Exactly.
It's gonna be probably whoever grinds more wins, basically.
Well, yeah, in theory, right? Some people decide to play a lot of games early on in the season, and the people who take advantage of that could wind up getting top 64 and being in a qualifier, right? Like my suggestion to people who start off this season in pro rank is jam a ton of games really early, get to about like 10,200 to 10,250, and you're probably going to wind up placing top 64, right? So the easiest way to get in the qualifier. So it shouldn't count, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't count.
Exactly.
It really shouldn't. But yeah, like, because this upcoming shortened season is gonna be part of like going into Masters, right? They're gonna count this. Yeah, which is something like shouldn't be like a thing, because people are always gonna play like competitively, even if there's like wouldn't say nothing on the line, but like just being on top of that leaderboards, you'll always get those players that are always gonna do it. But my guess is maybe they want to have some sort of like objective, obviously, like in the new season, of course, which makes sense. But yeah, like definitely the way they went about announcing this definitely wasn't what wasn't the best.
Yeah.
And
I would say that's like not a very good start for 2021, to be honest.
yeah,
to be
right.
honest, for, like,
Definitely,
right?
definitely
Like
not.
they actually like say to us like at the end of the 2020 that like they say that, oh, this is gonna be a new year, we're gonna make it better and stuff like that, and this is actually like a very very wrong start. I would say like such a like bad communication as well when it comes to like everything.
It does not bode well.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think a few people have said this, a few like larger streamers. If the prize pool for the competitive scene is the same as it was for Masters 2, you're probably going to see a lot of people just drop off competitively, because it's who's going to grind out, a shitty 30-day season for a chance to gain like $2,000, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Money is money, but when you set the precedence with Masters 1, where you're having the final prize pool be 250,000 USD, and then you come out and have a prize pool of maybe, what was it? What did it wind up being for Masters 2? 20,000?
Something like this.
25,000 or something?
25,000,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
yeah,
25,000.
yeah, 5-digit, yeah.
Like, who's gonna want to spend an entire year grinding through a bunch of crappy metas for that little money when the Masters 1 prize pool was 10 times higher?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And again, like, there's no point in grinding out this first competitive season, because it's really short, it's inconsequential, and you're going to have multiple opportunities later on in the year to play in a meta that isn't necessarily better, but is better organized than this one.
Yep.
Instead of being rushed and mixed in with a bunch of other things. Like, I mean, I know CD Projekt Red has a bunch of different issues going on right now with Cyberpunk, and trying to get that sorted out, and Gwent's probably a little bit of a side thing, and for sure, right, Cyberpunk's been their pet project for the better part of a decade. But if you're not giving the game the attention and the organization that people expect, then you're definitely going to see a drop off from the competitive side. In terms of casual play style, I'd say the game is pretty good, and it has a ton of potential, right? Like, if someone were to just play maybe an hour a day, they'd have a great time, because it's a great game. Just my gripe with it from a competitive aspect is that it's not being organized well, and they're not looking at the correct data when it comes to balancing the cards and making decisions.
Yeah.
Oh, about looking at data, I can make like a 10 pages essay at least, more like 100-page essay.
Email it to them. Maybe hopefully they'll read it.
I always was the biggest fan of their data analyzing.
Well, and see, that's the thing, is I don't think they ever will, but they should be consulting people who are consistently finishing top 200 in terms of data, and looking at their numbers. I know Trinet has a website called Data Driven Gaming. If you could link that in the episode, that would be pretty good.
Somebody
it's
link
a great
it.
website.
Oh wait, that's gonna be me. Never mind. Yeah.
I
usually use that.
I'll send it to you after.
I usually watch that website a lot as well. Yeah, for some data. Yep.
Yeah, and you can see the numbers from there, right? Like, for real competitive players, and I think it's great, because it gives it from the aspect of someone who's playing, over 500 games a season in pro rank, right? And consistently, spending hours a day playing the game. Because if you look at the average game time per match, it's about 12 minutes. And then let's say, you're playing 500 games in a season, which I'd say is fairly average right now, because you have a lot of people playing over 700 games in a season. I know that Energix plays, an average of 1,000 games a season.
Yeah.
You do the math on that, playing 500 games that are 12 minutes each on average, you're mathing out to about 6 hours a day on the game.
Yeah.
Almost like a full-time
Right.
job for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it definitely varies like weekday to weekend. Someone might spend 12 hours on a weekend playing the game, but
Yeah, this is entering a different topic because at the same time when Busha, I think, was showing us the data of each leader ability that got like the win rate of each leader ability from previous season. The problem of it, they are showing like the whole pro rank and whole pro rank versus like, I don't know, top 50, top 100, top 500. It's so much different than other pro rank. So this is again like showing the data that doesn't really show anything, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't really
Well,
show anything.
Invigorate could have a 50% win rate, you know, at like 2250,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
because
there's like only
every-
one guy playing it. It probably
Yeah.
bullies someone who just entered the pro rank like on the last day of season.
Yeah.
everyone's just goofing around playing memes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah, of course those worse leader abilities are going to have higher win rates, and that's going to skew the data, right? You know, if they want to release data like that, they have to say these are where the errors are coming from, because there are definitely errors associated with that. You know, you can't just give the graphic, you know, this has this win rate and this play rate, you know, and your sample size is, I don't know how many pro rank players there are, probably over 100,000, right? Because it's not hard to get into pro rank anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna see
So-
lockdowns. Probably the percentage for lockdowns probably gonna be like pretty close, but like so many people are playing it, so it's like it's probably not gonna be at the very top because like obviously of like again how the data spread and how many people have been playing lockdown in like the
Yeah,
later
exactly.
half of this season. So that's gonna be a good. I'm actually interested to see where lockdown is placed on this upcoming chart.
Yeah, but it's gonna be the same like with V, right? Like the first week, V was dominating and winning everything. Then people starting to tech against V. That doesn't mean that V is no longer a problem. you know?
Yeah.
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
It's gonna be like the win rate is gonna be flattened. It's like the same story as it was with DJ 1 year ago, or like it was already like almost 2
Yeah,
years ago.
exactly.
Yeah, and
I just
then-
was
hate
great
so much
leader.
like when I just hate so much when somebody just say like, "Oh, V is not a problem because I played this deck and beat it." But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
It doesn't help
Yeah.
anything.
yeah, you have to
Yeah,
the
because-
problem is still there. You just beat it. Doesn't mean anything at all.
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Because if you're playing, you know, to actually gain MMR and raise your rank, you're not teching against just one deck, right? Hey,
Yeah,
you know what?
exactly.
I could build an entire deck to just, you know, completely counter something, right? That's broken, right? Like if I wanted to counter Lippy, I could counter Lippy. Then every other matchup is gonna suck, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
am I going to be gaining MMR? No, I'm not going to be gaining MMR. I'll be winning my games against Lippy, but I'm going to be losing everything else.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
And
But look
that's
at
not,
this
that's not worth it.
clickbait title, like 100% win rate against
Oh my
Lippy or
God, I
something.
hate
And then you show two Lippy games, and that's it.
Oh.
Good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or these. This is just going to get into me just ranting stupidly, right? You know,
No,
not everyone's a perpetrator of this, but these like,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I made this deck, and you advertise it on Reddit, and
Mhm.
you know, people see it, and it's like, oh, you know, send me the link. You know, I want to try this out and make some Lippy players cry. It's like you're gonna wind up crying because you're losing every game except, you know, against
Yeah,
Lippy or
it's the
Vi.
same like you play Lippy. Yeah. And like
Right,
how many
you know?
times are you gonna queue into Lippy anyway, right? In the end.
Oh, you're gonna wind up queuing into Lockdown more than Lippy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like if you made an anti-lockdown deck right now, you'd probably be winning almost every game because it's gonna be almost every time lockdown. So I'm surprised somebody's taking advantage of that. That'd be a lot of fun.
An anti-lockdown deck is a deck that doesn't need its leader as much as other decks. and you're
Invigorate.
gonna have
That's
a
where
lot-
Invigorate's win rate comes from. Just use the provisions.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
You're gonna have a lot of things that don't bank on that leader as much, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
you know, and the thing with like, you know, let's say you're playing Lockdown to tech all of these, you know, hyper greedy lists and all that stuff, and you queue into someone who's also has that idea that I want to play Lockdown. That matchup is probably the hardest mirror to play in the entire game, right? So if you don't have an understanding of that matchup and your opponent does, you're gonna lose almost every game that you play.
Yeah.
and then you're gonna wind up losing all your MMR that you fought hard to gain. Right, so there's no one trick answer to playing against these decks. Is you have to be pretty versatile in understanding. This is going to beat it, this is going to beat it, and so on.
Exactly, and that's just like a conclusion of like why I hate this meta so much as well.
Yeah.
We have because like there are so many decks like you basically I built this deck just to counter this, but then there's the other deck over there that I can't win at all. For example, like Lippy and V is like left side and right side, right? You build a deck that like okay, I'll move toward like beating a right side, but I will lose the left side deck instead or something like that.
It's a classic problem of like rock paper scissors. Do you want the rock paper?
Pretty much.
You don't.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And the irony of it is, and I'm gonna go back to something that Ian said before this, is like, for a casual playstyle, this game fits perfectly. It's great. The irony of it is this game did start out as a casual game because it was meant to be a side game on The Witcher 3, right? And it turned out to be like very successful and very popular. And so obviously they decided to make it a standalone. But yes, like, because I don't think they invest as much into this as they do, like, let's say, for example, Cyberpunk. But I think they should, because I think there's a lot of like potential market that could come from card games. Like you look at Hearthstone as a big example. Like Blizzard invests quite a bit of resources into Hearthstone. Now with Gwent, of course, that could be a bit tough, because a lot of the developers there, they're probably more specialized in from The Witcher 3 or from Cyberpunk or from like previous projects like that just jumped into card games, which is a completely different field. And it's funny because I'm actually just recently started to get into game design. It's one of the things I want to learn for 2021. And when I take a look at sort of like the different angles and factors you have to consider when designing a certain type of genre, it's different from one to the other. So like, you can be an expert at like card games or like, for example, RPG games, but when you try and hop on something completely different, you have to pretty much relearn like the basics of that particular genre. Like you can carry some of the skills you learned from the one you did before, but going to a new one's completely different. And I know that Malegian has joined the CDPR team a while ago, right? So
yes,
I don't know what he's done, to be perfectly honest. Like I don't know much about what he's been doing there since, but
I think he's part of the design team.
Is he part of the design team?
Keywords,
card creation, stuff like that, right? Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah, because like I don't know how much like input he actually gets, because I know like he was a former pro player, right? So like they have someone with a background, in like competitive playing.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know how much input he has. Like, like with this meta, like the only counter argument I can really see to people's like complaints is like, oh, more factions are seeing more play now. I'm like, yes, but like it doesn't really.
What cost?
Yeah, exactly. At what cost, right?
At what cost?
And this kind of goes back to a point that I said last week about like, like how people complain about the meta in a sense. It's like they say, give this faction more love, give this faction more love. The bad news is they did. Like, I think a few months ago, they were like, give monsters more love. And then like, yes, monsters got love. There you go. You love it. Now you're complaining about it. You're complaining about V now.
Yeah,
right?
but like technically that's not true though. Like Monster didn't get love. Monsters just get V. That's it. Monsters get V and like a bunch of like tutor carded.
No, that's the thing, right? Like, what exactly does love mean, right? What is your definition of love? That's the thing.
You can't really play other monster deck that much outside playing V or Kill to List right now. Like seriously, like we just like real talk right here. It's like like tutor all the tutor cards neutral. You can just turn it into monster card basically at this point.
The one fix they could have for V is make it devotion.
Yeah,
right.
That is true. That is true.
They can make it devotion because you still have monster specific tutors, and then at that point it becomes. You have to play it in round 1, and then usually monsters you want to bleed, and if you win the round or if you get bled, you still have it. You're reducing its ceiling quite a bit, but at the same time you're making it work with the other monsters cards. Because if you look at the expansion, a lot of the cards from a lot of different factions are being played. Like if you look at Northern Realms, a lot of those new Witcher cards have seen a lot of play, which is nice, right? They all kind of fit together. Now, if you look at monsters, the only card that they released from this expansion that's actually seeing significant play is V, right? I see Kostri sometimes, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
1 in
I
every
haven't-
100 monster games, you'll see a Koshi.
I haven't seen Rat King at all. I haven't seen Dol Du Loc
Mhm.
at all. Right? I think that's probably the worst
Yeah.
location out of
It
all
is.
of them.
It is. Yeah, it's completely counter.
Mhm.
It's so bad against like Nilfgaard. Put it on the top of your deck, it's
Yeah.
gonna get Viper Witcher mentored.
Yeah,
It's gonna
exactly.
get Cantarellaed. So
Mhm.
it is completely awful. I hate it. Because I
Mhm.
love monsters.
Right? Like
Yeah, and it's just sad because like when you want to play something else that's like basically a monster deck, you will feel like, oh, I can just play V because V is just like way better, right? So like, what is like your feeling that like I want to play something else when V is always like up there, and you're gonna get like a lot more point out of the card instead of like have to like set up a
Yeah.
bunch of other card to get there. You can just like play one card and I get 30 points.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
just slam one card down and I got 30 points. So what you gonna do about that? Basically.
and
yeah,
that way,
it-
like by making it devotion, it's still possible to get it to 20 points. It's not like it's killing the
Yeah,
card.
exactly.
Mhm.
If you get it to 20 points, that means you're still getting 50 points of value off the card for 12 provisions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty good.
It's not a bad deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't abuse
And
it.
it also
but
allow
it's
exactly.
still-
It's also allow you to like play like other cards to combo with it as well, like make
Mhm.
like be more creative, not just only like run a bunch of like tutor card only and then that's it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I wanted to play it originally in a haunt deck with Detlef and all those cards that were good prior to the expansion. See how that would work. But
Mm-hmm.
right now that's not the most optimized way to play it. The most optimized way to play it is just
Slam tutors.
slam a bunch of
Yeah,
tutors
exactly.
in your deck,
Mhm.
and then each tutor
Yeah.
counts as a V.
It
Right?
gets
And
3 points stronger. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you're gaining that carryover, and you get into a 3-card round 3, and you're like, haha, I have a 30-point card in my hand.
Mhm.
How you?
Yeah, it's amazing that even Irden is not enough. It's like
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's base power 30. It's base
Yeah.
power 30. So yeah, you can. And I hate Yurden. I hate Yurden and I hate Igni.
No, I gave you some PTSD.
Hate it with a
Those-
passion.
Those 2 cards are disgusting.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I
Wait,
want them to
you
be
don't like
deleted.
binary effects in Gwent?
Oh, binary effects, just the greatest. With a solid 2-point floor for 11 provisions. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. It's either gonna
Exactly,
be
yeah.
high value or it's gonna be a mulligan, pretty much. So
Yeah.
Pretty much. Exactly.
and yeah, like
And-
I'm pretty sure some people have
Mhm.
wondered, like, how come you just can't change a simple word or change some numbers and stuff? We know in the past that Gwent has gone through a lot of start of the season glitches. I feel like every time they do like some sort of big
Mhm.
patch, the first day people play
Mhm.
it, it's like I don't think that happened in The Way of the Witcher, I think, but I know in the past they've had stuff where it's like other
Wait.
cards started to bug after like a big patch or
There-
something.
There
Just a
weren't as
reminder.
many.
Yeah, but just a reminder, you could have go to Infinite MMR with Syndicate this season, because when you played the scenario and the new mage with Tribute,
Oh, that's
your
a bug,
game was
yeah.
instantly
Oh,
tying.
yeah, Fallen Rayla.
So no, not for
Oh, no,
Ray-
which
Rayla.
one?
It was the Salamandra Mage, I
Salamandra
think.
Mage,
If you
yeah.
Oh,
played the
right.
Tribute, the game would tie always. So in this season, you could have gone to Infinite Syndicate because you could never lose.
Oh no,
Mhm.
but if you start tying, you're not gaining any MMR.
Yeah, but you can never lose MMR. So
You can never
play
lose it.
until you win.
Yeah. You're actually like not gonna lose anymore. I mean,
And it was actually for like 1 week, so it was actually pretty
Mhm.
long.
yeah.
Now there
Yeah,
is one aspect of the patch notes that we haven't touched yet. It was mentioned like near the beginning, and that's
Mhm.
Matic, the new card that's gonna be coming out. So it's 3 power, 10 provisions, and whenever you play a bomb card, you summon this card from your deck or your graveyard to a random allied row. And its order ability is spawn Cataclysm for 1 turn on the opposite row, then destroy self. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on this new card?
I like the idea. It's fun because I like that this is sort of a roach with like an extra step of this cataclysm. The problem is bombs are pretty terrible, right?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to play like terrible cards to make this card decent.
Mm-hmm. So like the only like one way I can say it is basically you play no unit Scoia'tael. So at least you have like two making a bomb. You might want to run like I guess maybe like Northern Wind or like like
Against
Moon
Sweetie?
Dust, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I heard.
Yeah.
I think I heard somewhere or read somewhere that if everyone is gonna play this new card, everyone will play the bomb that banishes, and we'll have like no fun because you will
That is true,
banish
that
the
is true.
opponent's what's his name, like the new card. You will banish it,
Mhm.
and like that's the end of fun.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
your
so
opponent
that's
will do the
basically gonna
same
be
for
not
you.
like
Yeah.
another win thing. Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure like how Will is gonna like look, but we'll have to see. I guess it's probably gonna be just only like for bomb heaver support or something.
I do believe that in the decks with him, you won't play bomb heaver. It's still too bad.
Yeah, it's still pretty
Yeah, that is
bad.
true.
Yeah. Yeah, like the first thing I thought of when I saw this card is like, oh my god, Sawyer's gonna have a field day with this because bombs are all removal cards. Like you got like the Northern Wind, which purifies and damages. There's like another bomb card, like they both damage. I'm like, yeah, Sawyer's gonna have a field day with this card. But like, yeah, in terms of design, like I don't know how it's gonna play out. Like, yeah, sure, it's a card that you can thin from your deck, but like, come on, 10 provisions of 3 power, and it is pretty ideal. But I don't know. I think the archetype it's supporting, it's still gonna be too weak. I don't think it's still gonna see.
Yep.
Ian, what do you think
So-
about this from a competitive standpoint? Now you gotta point that out every single time, so people might get confused. That's why I make you go last.
If it had Zeal, it would be good. As
yeah,
order.
with you.
It will
Yeah,
be
it's-
better.
It would be a lot
So-
better if it had Zeal for sure. But yeah, no, it's just a straight up order, so you have to wait a turn.
No.
No,
No,
okay,
like,
fair enough.
Someone's gonna try and put it into a precision strike deck or a guerrilla tactics deck.
Mhm.
Try and go.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
No unit.
I'm sure Specimen's gonna,
Yeah.
make something and play with
I
that.
tried to
and
think about the decks with it, and the only things I like, even to like a super meme versions, like it's no unit Scoia'tael, it's maybe Warrior Skellige, where you just move everything and win with Dragon's Dream and
Yeah.
the
Oh.
great sorts of everything. That's my dream, basically.
Oh.
And maybe
That deck
in
guy's coming out
Nilfgaard-
soon.
yeah, and maybe Nilfgaard with a lot of poison because you have a poison bomb as well, and you can like with trees and with assimilate you can create another one. But it's like making good decks worse, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
And for 10
Exactly.
provisions, you just think
Yeah.
about how many other cards are just better than
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
and already fit into things a lot smoother
Exactly.
and have better synergies. Like the issue is if you're playing a deck that's running hyper removal with a ton of bombs, and then you're playing a card like this, what value are you getting off the Cataclysm?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nothing's on the board, right?
Exactly.
So it's just like a flying. You might as well just play a flying Redanian or any of those other cards that just come from your graveyard or your deck. They're
You
better.
just
They're
play rogue
better and they're
and
cheaper. They're better and you're cheaper, and the cards work better with each faction.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
Yeah, so this
Yeah.
this one doesn't really add anything to like sort of fix. I mean, at least they tried, but like I don't even
Yeah,
know.
like-
I don't even know how much effort there was into this. Honestly, to
Wait.
be honest, I was just pretty disappointed.
There might be a good thing out of it that people will try it and people will take in the bomb that banishes, so the LP will be worse for at least a week, maybe.
Maybe,
It's a-
Yeah, that might affect Lippy a little bit, I guess.
yeah,
Like
right.
it's a bit of a lippy tech, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to tech against that entirely, you would have been playing those cards originally,
Mhm.
right? Because why
Yeah.
would you spend a heat wave on a Ceres or
That's
a,
true.
Yeah.
or a shield
That is
maiden?
true. That is
Right?
true.
You just play those Northern Winds casually in a Gord deck,
Yeah.
and you banish those, or an Alzur deck or whatever.
Some form.
Yeah,
no
people
units.
actually like even start like running Fortune Teller as well, just to doom
Oh
like
my
those cards
God.
away. Yeah, I saw Miamon like actually
Oh.
like run Fortune Teller in almost like every deck he made
Oh,
this day.
Miamon.
Yeah,
Just why?
Oh gosh, so unnecessary.
yeah,
Why?
he just run it just to like take against Cyrus like specially. So pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
but again, like you can do that, and Miyamon's a good player, and he plays
Mhm.
with some interesting stuff. The issue is if you don't draw into it in round 1, and then you're really like strapped for mulligans in round 3, and you draw into that, you're gonna lose the game,
Yeah, that's pretty much
right?
that is true.
You're gonna lose the game because if you have a 4-point tempo play in round 3, you're just gonna get outvalued so hard,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it comes risk to reward, Yeah, it's a 4-point card that gives the unit doomed. And if you're giving doomed to Ceres, it's 12 points because you're denying 8 carryover.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's not necessary, right? There's
Yeah.
so many things that tech against Lippy hard already. Row punish, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
pretty much. I mean, I would not say like Lippy is not a problem anymore, but at least like I feel like meta has been evolved to the point that like it's not gonna guarantee that, like if you play Lippy you're gonna win, pretty much. So
The issue I
yeah.
have with Lippy is that it works too well with the new cards, and I understand that they buffed Roach and the dog for Colgrim and those hyperthin stuff, but
Yeah.
there seems to be, or it looked like there was no foresight. It's like, oh, Lippy is already there, right? It was something that was, passively good. You'd see it from time to time. You'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate playing against this, but at least I'm not seeing it all the time. Those 2 provisions plus those self-damage cards,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the Quartermaster or Heron Kaduk, which, geez, like you talk about evaluating locations and what they were thinking with Heron Kaduk and Dol Dulak in the same expansion. Like, what were they smoking?
Yeah, right.
I just don't really understand because like it's so obvious as well. Like when the patch note come out, right, and everybody say like, oh, Roach and Sneaker got buffed by like 1 provision each. Everybody's just like, oh, Lippy.
Yeah, that's
right,
the
right.
first,
Nobody think about Colgrim at all.
That's the first
Yeah.
thing they thought of exactly.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
you know what? Why not just buff Ceres? Make her
Yeah.
10 provisions. Make
Yeah,
her 5
exactly.
power. Right?
I
You
think
know?
I remember when they lowered her provision initially was to try and like which card was it that they were trying to prevent tutoring her out of? I can't remember now, but like and then in the long term now it's gotten even a lot stronger because of those 2 provisions. But yeah, I totally understand like obviously buffing like current cards or nerfing current cards to try and make it work with the cards coming out, but like they do have they should really have like a look at like the entire collection and see which like I know it would take time for sure because you have to go through every card, but I think it just has to be done. Like if you want to have like a game that's like not just balanced but also healthy, you have to look at the topmost card of the deck collection and the bottommost card of the deck collection.
Yes.
And you have to scroll through, especially if you're adding an expansion for sure. I think expansion season should be the time where you have to look at the entire collection and see what changes are made, what are the possible consequences if a certain change gets made, and what are going to be the things you're gonna be, because obviously every change you make is gonna have consequences, it's gonna have benefits. You're gonna just have to ask yourself, is it okay, like are you willing to live with the consequences? And by the sounds of it, we ain't living well with the consequences we're getting from this one. So that's just kind of been the general consensus of like what we thought about 2-month metas. Obviously with the last time this happened was when double scenarios were still a thing. Obviously people complained a lot about double scenarios, and that wasn't fixed for like a few months, but at least they got around to it. Like I don't know if you were here last year, Ian, when the last time that 2-month meta big issue happened, but
Which one was that?
that was the one where double scenarios were a thing. Did you ever play?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what
Those,
did you
those were never a problem with me, honestly. Right?
like
I never
comparing?
had
Yeah.
I never had any issue against double ball or double Getanith. Like I understand why people didn't like it because you're replaying the cards, but that's not the scenario's fault. Those are the cards that are replaying its fault. Like they changed
Yeah.
Caretaker. Good, you changed Caretaker. If you want to change a Sire to make her shuffle, only units back in or shuffle specials back in or something, change a Sire. That's not the scenario's fault, right? The scenario is a scenario.
Exactly.
It can't replay itself. Something else has to replay it, right? And then on top of that, you have to have consistency for that. right? Because you can play it once, shuffle it back in. There's no guarantee that you're getting it again, right? It's not the scenario. That's
Exactly.
the issue.
And yeah, this is like actually like another topic as well that I don't know that I want to like talk about or not, but you know, like the replayability in this game. What do you guys think about that? Like, do we want to talk about this one a little bit? Because I actually like really against like on like any type of like, oh, you play this card like in round 1, and then you're gonna play this card again in round 2, or like if sometimes even more like in round 3 as well, or something like that. Like play exactly the same card, like play exactly the same combo again and again from your graveyard, or like some type of that. Like what do you guys think about that?
I think
Especially like Lippy.
I
Let's
think
talk
we
about,
spent the
Lippy
last. I think we've spent the last 10 minutes talking about replayability. I'm not gonna lie, because I think that
Yeah,
was
but
it.
like
That's kind of been like the main problem. I mean, to be perfectly honest, like those kinds of things, like because replayability in the game, like with Lippy, obviously it's too much, right? It's very excessive. But like a little bit, I guess, of replayability wouldn't be like the worst, especially like if you have to kind of like work. I wouldn't say work hard for it, but like
yeah.
with Lippy, you don't have to like do anything, honestly, because you just filter through your deck. It's almost every single time you're gonna find Lippy, and then the replayability just becomes instant, right? But like if it's something
Yeah.
where you have to kind of work for it, like really hard for me to give an example for this, but I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it. Right now it's just so hard for me to get my head out of anything that's not Lippy when you bring up that term, because honestly I'm
Yeah.
like I still have PTSD. So
No, it's just like for me, I feel like for the game, it's not really a healthy mechanic for the game, because like when I start playing that game, right, I learned the mechanic of like, oh, you have to like save your resources for each round. Like you have to know like what is gonna be your win con for this round, and then after you use it, what is gonna be your next win con for the next round, basically. Because like this game it's all about like you have to win 2 rounds in one game to win the game, something like that. Like which other card game don't have that. Other card game you don't have to like care about like, oh, I need to save this card for later so that I can like use it with something else or something, and stuff like that. So like for anything that like basically allow you to replay stuff, for example, you guys like remember like the old school Mystic Echo, right, and stuff like that. Like it just make people don't really care about like, oh, I need to save this, I need to do like think about like later or stuff like that. And Lippy is like the thing that like main problem for me right now is like nobody care at all. They just like, I'll play everything, and then I'll play everything that I just play again in round 2 and stuff like that. So I feel like it's not very good for the game, because you don't have to like really think about, you know, what you do basically
yeah,
the whole time.
that was
and
the
stuff
point I
like
was
that.
gonna make too. There after you said that was like I can give this to a friend, like I can show this Lippy deck to someone who's never played Gwent before. I tell you, you get 50 games, get good with this deck. They're gonna get good with the deck because you don't need to think a lot like with it. Like, you know, like like it definitely takes out the factor, because that's why Ian's been like complaining about this episode and last week's episode. But yeah, replayability is one of the biggest reasons for that, for sure. Ian, you want to touch more? I don't know if you want to touch more on that, because I feel like you've been touching on it every single time, but you know, I think this is your area of expertise.
Expertise. That's a bit of an overstatement.
So is Behemoth, clearly, but you know, we've seen I have picture proof, so.
I'm not that tall. That was all angles. That was all angles. Like I like that picture makes me look like I'm 7 feet tall and like 250 pounds. I'm like half the size. I don't mind replayability if it's done properly. Like if you look at Herald or Freya's Blessings, right? They're cards that you're not replaying everything, and you're replaying select things. So, and you're still paying provisions for those cards, so it's not that bad. With Lippy, again, I said this before and I'll say it forever if that card continues to exist. It reads double the provision limit for your deck. That's what it is. You're not going to be replaying every card, but you're going to be replaying quite a bit of your cards. And as Ziggy said, it's inconsequential what you play in round 1. I could just slam all my good cards in round 1 and then do a soft bleed with a bunch of crappy cards, play Lippy in round 3, and then I have a big 25, 26 point finisher, right? And with something that's comparable would be Blue Stripes. With Blue Stripes is it's not immediate payoff with that deck, is you have to build your carryover by extending the round, and to play around it is, if you're playing against that, you pass early if they have their stuff starting to develop. You don't want them to get that carryover, so you could deny them at 2 commandos. and then they have to rely on drawing Pavetta, and then they have to rely on, drawing into their blue stripe again. And then if they're playing Draug, then they have to set that row up properly, and they have to deal with the removal, because it's a multiple turn thing. So instead of it being a one turn payoff, it's a multiple turn payoff, which again, like, I know people don't like blue stripes for that specific reason. But if you're saying that you don't like blue stripes, you shouldn't like Lippy either. In fact, you should like Lippy less, because it's something that requires less planning and less, strategizing to do. It's just a cheap way of winning a game, honestly. And then on top of all that annoying hyper removal that they usually play, right? Just playing against it becomes a headache. And that's, I think, if I want to tie it up to the first question that you asked, is why don't I like a 2-month meta? You're going to run into it every other game. And then why play the game? Right? Like that, and that's what I discovered over 2 weeks ago, is why am I playing the game?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've secured top 500, right? I should have secured top 200 if they didn't extend the week, another week, right? For all I know, I'm not going to finish top 200 anymore, right? It's probably going to wind up, the cutoff's going to wind up being like 10,200, which is ridiculous, right? If you put it in the context of other seasons. Why am I playing the game? I don't want to get upset with the game. I like the game, right? And if I get upset with the game, I'm going to stop playing the game. And I'm sure other people have the same sentiment as me, is why am I spending the time and the effort when I know I'm going to run into these things that I don't like, that I could still beat if I, practiced enough, or I play a lot and I understand the matchup, but it's not fun. There's no diversity. There's no diversity to the game, so what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
Bomblin, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I actually sort of agree with Ian. I like replayability to a degree. Like, I like all of the, I don't know, graveyard manipulation for Skellige and like Pavetta, but like cards that do it to extreme, like Lippy, are just unhealthy for the game. For example, I'm a big fan of Asayer Roach combo, which is probably like 2 years too old now. But I just love this kind of small interactions, but it's like not breaking a game. It's like replaying 3 points versus replaying 100 points. It's a big deal.
I mean, like from my point, it's not only like apply to like only Lippy, but like apply to like, for example, like V as well, or like even like the Arch Griffin, like they just like introduce, even though like Arch Griffin is pretty bad, but like it's still like some type of like, oh, I do this, and then I'm gonna play this again though. You have to wait for it.
Well,
round three you will see it again or something like that, So I'm kind of like,
well, that's
I'm
exactly
kind of like not really enjoy that much,
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why those fixes should be done for sure, because like those, like now you see why, like like that's a really good. Actually, that if I had known that word, like remember that word, that would be the best way to explain why V and Lippy are the most annoying cards in the game right now. Is the replayability. It is so easily abused. Yeah, but in terms of replayability in general, like I think it's okay. Like that you mentioned the Asir Roach combo, like even Asir Masquerade Ball combo, still like it's not an abuse. Like obviously it's what you wanted, like back then when it was still the double ball era. But like that's not, obviously you could not easily, because you have to draw Asir to get that to work, obviously, otherwise it's going to be just a single ball. But like with V and Lippy, where it's like you can just brainlessly play them for like 30 points and you don't even need to think about it, that's where it gets unhealthy. So yes, so like it's like too much of a good thing is a bad thing, but I think replayability in general is a good thing. Like obviously as long as it's like controlled and you have to like work for it.
I understand. Yeah. So if it's like like better optimized, I guess it's okay then, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm probably okay with that too, probably.
And I think that's been like the general like complaints of what we've all had, like with like the broken metas, is like they've been so easily abused. But I think some of the mechanics they bring is okay. Like I said, like I love V's design. It has a very good design. Unfortunately, it's just abusable. So like Ian said,
Mhm.
adding devotion would definitely control it. Like what I thought of doing, like what I thought about it was like maybe add like a timer, kind of like what Detlef has. It would solve it similarly,
Yeah.
but I think devotion, because I think devotion needs a bit more, support. I
Like-
think that is a good one also.
Yeah, like for V, I have like so many ideas because like me and like a lot of people in my chat when I was streaming, like we actually legit talk about like the best way to like optimize like V, and like we have like for example like add counter, right? That's just like you said, or like add devotion,
Mhm.
or like you can also add adrenaline as well, right? You can make it like for example like
Yep.
if you want it to work as a dead wish, then you have to be adrenaline like for example 3, so then you can only like consume like how many times per turn or something, or you have to like play in like a very short round to be able to like do the combo or something like that.
Mhm.
That's also like work too.
Or
Exactly.
or what
for-
they
for
could
the
do
card,
is
so
they could make it that the adrenaline makes the carryover stuff kick in, because you can
Mhm.
keep it as an
Ah.
8 that shuffles itself back in but doesn't increase the base power,
Mhm.
right? That's and it's still pretty strong, right? Or maybe like increased by 1 or something, and then adrenaline
Mhm.
3 increased by 3,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And that's the great thing about these keywords that they've added in like devotion and adrenaline, is they can
Yep.
be used to balance cards in a way without really messing with the provisions and the base power, which winds up killing cards, right?
Yeah,
You know,
that's
or
there is one problem that I see actually in many card games, that developers are kind of afraid of revisiting the keywords or like ideas, and I actually believe that they don't want to revisit devotion. But to be honest, I don't know why they are so afraid of
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Because devotion, for example, in this case would be amazing.
Mhm.
And I kind of want them to experiment with this kind of stuff with
Yeah.
other keywords as well. Like what was the keyword that they add to Tirgvi in like Master
Rupture.
Mirror?
So-
Rupture. It's
Rupture,
only
yeah.
one card.
It's one card,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
only one
exactly.
card.
it doesn't see play anymore. Why
Yeah.
did they add it?
Exactly.
Mhm.
In just
What was
Yeah.
the purpose?
in just confusing like new players, and you can do some stuff like with Rapture. For example, make it, I don't know, Rapture 5, which means that it will do 5 damage, for example, and then you have a new keyword that can be like implemented on few cards. It's more risky damage, but you can make the damage more. You can purify it, like or you can counter it with
Yeah.
shield armor, whatever. But just making a keyword for like one card that is
Mhm.
unplayable,
Yeah.
just, I don't get this
Exactly.
idea.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
Yeah.
issue,
unless we see
the
it.
issue with
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, it's
No.
all good. No, it's all good. You can
Oh,
go.
okay, but I was gonna say, like, if they add like these almost as if like leaks in a way, like if the next expansion is gonna see more Rupture cards, then sure. But if it's gonna be something similar to like they did Devotion and Master Mirror, but then we barely saw it here. If that's gonna be the
Mhm.
trend, then it's like there's no point adding these little tidbits if they're not gonna see any play. Like you
Yeah.
could fit in a different card that would potentially have more synergy with like the current state of the meta already.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my point.
And they could just adjust things for a month and see how that works. right?
Exactly. Just don't.
I-
It's a card game. It's a digital card game. We can experiment. It's not like we are printing these cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I think the way that they've been approaching it is that they don't want to adjust one thing just to change it back again. But what's the
Why
harm,
not?
right? And
Yeah.
especially in an off season when things don't matter, they had 4 months to play with things.
Yeah, that'd be
4
the
months.
best
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Did almost nothing. Almost
Yeah.
Yeah,
nothing.
it's the moment for experimenting. It's the
Mhm.
moment for fun, and we got
Yeah.
like, what
Pretty much. Oh,
nothing.
exactly.
Yeah, and I think in general the community will understand it. In fact, I think they'll like it more. Like especially like if you tell them that kind of stuff, it's all about communication.
Mhm.
Really, at the end of the day, like I personally see nothing wrong with an off season and them experimenting because it tells me for sure that they're taking time to invest in like their collection and experimenting with the cards they currently have, and like what needs to be changed, this and that. Like if you need to take all the 4 months, please take all the 4 months. Like that's completely fine.
Mhm.
And you still have people playing a lot of games because, again, if you look at the MMR numbers, the numbers are higher for an off season than they are for a competitive season, which
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah,
I don't know how to put it.
People just want
Right.
to have fun, you know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if they want to do that, right, where people are just having fun, they're not going to care if you're playing with the numbers for a bit. In fact, they'll
Yeah.
appreciate it because it makes things interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right?
sure,
And
It's
exactly.
like, sorry.
and things don't get stale, right? That's the issue that, again, I have with the game, is it's becoming stale, right? And I'm sure other people have the same problem as me, is they don't want to see the same stuff all the time, day in and day out.
Yeah. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's just been sort of. Sorry, you had a point, Bomblin? I think you cut
Yeah,
off.
because I was thinking that every time we see design, we have two answers why they are not changing stuff. One, they answered because they cannot change it, I don't know, for competitive season or for the tournament because pro players need to have a stable meta. And then we have a second point that we cannot balance this just for pro players because casuals want to have fun. And we have these two ideas that sort of clash with each other, and I don't even know now what their approach, because they used to be a casual game, then they said that they want to be super competitive game, and then casual again, and then competitive again, and I'm lost.
Like what are they trying? Who are they trying to cater to? Right, exactly, when they do these kinds of
Yeah,
changes and stuff.
pretty much.
They're trying to cater to everyone, and at the end of the day, they want revenue, and that's the best way to do that, is to cater to everyone.
That's true.
Well, if they want to revenue, they should use a little bit of marketing money,
Yeah. Yeah.
I even saw a comment recently on Reddit, like some new player experience, and the guy was like, "Oh my god, this game is super fun. Why didn't I discover it earlier? I never heard about this game."
I showed. I think someone said like the marketing skills for like this game and like Thronebreak and stuff, and like they weren't great. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's no ad basically. They should just do like the same as Raid Shadow Legend. Oh my god.
I think I've seen a couple. But yeah, they definitely, if they did it as much as Raid Shadow Legends did, and oh my god, there would definitely be more player, but they'd be annoyed with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I've never heard of a casual player complaining about a card that's been balanced for pro players, right? Like, I can't name a card that a casual player has complained about that a pro player likes, that thinks is well balanced, right? So why not just make every card like that? Because then everyone wins.
Yeah,
and then the competitive scene is good.
Yeah, exactly. You have a good point, because I think technically, like, if they want to balance like everything, they can just like listen to the pro. Like, to be honest, like for example, like I don't know how many people who actually like work for like card design, like in their team outside like Malaysian, that actually like a former pro. So it's kind of sad. Like they should like listen to like more pro player, like what they think about like what do you think about like the card right now? What do you think about like the state of Gwent and stuff like that? Because like if they do that, just like of course there probably gonna be people complain like you actually can't please everybody anyway. So at least like listen to the pro on what they think and just balance through that, and everybody will adapt in the end anyway. So like I think that would be like the best way they can do, and also basically something like that.
From a content creator standpoint, it's like we're always gonna go with whatever the game gives us, right? We don't have demands of our own. Our demands almost come from like the pro players, exactly like what you're saying. Because at the end of the day, nobody plays to lose. Like, who the heck plays to lose? You're gonna try and win games, right? Everyone's gonna have the play to win mentality. Who the heck plays to lose? Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, there's always gonna be a pro player mentality on the back of the head. Obviously, some people have it on the front of their head, but everyone's gonna have that sort of slight. It's just how much you want to put it out there, really.
Exactly.
Pro or casual.
And like in the end, who's gonna spend most time in the game? A casual player or a pro player, right? In the end. So like they should just like listen to the pro player, pretty much. Like that would be a lot better. Like other games as well, like some games, like for example, like the game like I usually play like League of Legends, like all the champion, like they have so many champions. So how would they like balance it all out? Just listen to the pro, basically. So people are gonna complain, like casual people are gonna be like, oh, I don't play this champion, so like why do they like change it or something like that, right? But like in the end they will adapt anyway. So just listen to the pro.
Sorry, Batman, you got cut off like 4 times. What's up, buddy? Yeah, you got cut off like 4 times.
No, it's fine. It's I was just thinking about the card that pro players said about the opposite, that it's actually unplayable and they still nerf it for casuals, and it's my boy Regis. which is like
Ah,
it was
that hurt
always
me,
a
man.
crap card.
That hurt
Why
It
did
me.
was
you
always
do
a
that?
super terrible crap card, and then they added initiative to it, and it's even worse.
Igni can have initiative, but oh, my boy Regis, man. Regis was a lot
Yeah,
of fun. Regis was so
exactly.
much fun, man.
Yeah, I love this. Still.
Dandelion Show had a field day with Regis plays, honestly. But yeah, now it's gone.
Just give it adrenaline, you know, and it's fine already.
Yeah, adrenaline would be okay
Mhm.
actually, but
Yeah,
I think it can be
exactly.
deleted. That's what it can do.
No, please no.
it's still pretty
Check
fun.
that. That card can go burn in the pits of hell.
Are you talking about Igni or Regis?
No. Regis is great. I love
Oh,
Regis.
okay, you're about Igni, okay.
Igni and Yurden, no.
Or have reworked them
Pretty much,
completely,
right?
maybe.
No,
Uh,
just delete.
Well, I think
Just alt
the signs are cool, man. Like Irden was never used enough in The Witcher 3. I never used Irden enough in The Witcher 3.
Yeah,
I always used
the,
Gwent.
the arts and the signs are cool, but the cards are bad.
That's what I'm saying. Completely just change the card and its ability. But I love the signs. Yeah, I think we've just covered about everything on the 2-month meta. To be perfectly honest, that was like the first 10 minutes, and then the rest were just a
Yeah.
banter on. But I mean, I think that's just going. It's just how it is. Like, there's so many factors to take in when I even bring up. That's why I bring up general topics, because it can go in so many directions, and every single point, honestly, is valid, right?
I mean, in the end, it's a chain reaction anyway, right? Like
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
is a problem, and then it's gonna go to like something else, some other topic. Like,
and then I think that's the
change
fun,
together.
and that's the fun of it, right? Like, you know, some topics will be
exactly.
brought up on multiple episodes, but you know what? It's like, you know, there could be new ideas and new stuff that we could bring up. That's why I just keep the topics general for every episode, because exactly it's gonna go in every direction. So I was wondering if you guys have any closing words before I wrap up this episode for today. We'll start with Bomblin. What do you got, buddy?
I'm just waiting for February patch, and they told us that it's gonna be a big one. So, well, I'm waiting.
Hopefully
And
it's
I
not gonna be as
expect
buggy.
big stuff.
Just hope there's no bugs.
Remove initiative, please.
Yeah.
At least on Regis. Please.
Yeah, right. It's done nothing but kill cards. Ian, how about you, man? You're not gonna be last this time. What's up? Any final words?
Same as Bomblin, you know. I'm not playing until the February patch, so 8.2. If they're gonna say it's a big one, I'm gonna expect some big things, because if it's not a good patch, I'm gonna have a field day with them, and I'm just gonna lay into their card designs, and like, I mean, they're not gonna care probably that what I think, right? I'm just some guy.
Yeah, some guy on some team.
But you know, if they're gonna say that it's a big thing and it doesn't wind up being a good balance change, then it's bad face for them. It's bad face for them. So
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna have high hopes for 8.2, but they better deliver on some stuff.
Yeah.
Ziggy, how about you, my man?
Yeah, I mean, same as you guys as well. Like, I just have like a very, very high hope, you know, like on this game, and like I feel like my hope just like decrease like more and more and more.
You're
just, like, the
hanging on
days
the
go.
edge of
Yeah, pretty much. So like, I just want, like, you know, I just want the game to be better, basically. Like, like the first time when I play this game, I see so much potential that like how the game can grow and stuff like that. Like, I've been playing a lot of card games before I come to this game, so I feel like, you know, in the future they can make like it even better. Especially like they did promise us like 2021 will be better year for the game anyway. I want to see them actually improve, like not just only like just the word, right? You know,
When
like
does
actually
2021
like show
start for them?
yeah, like this is not
Good
like a
question.
very good start. Like to be honest for me, so I kind of like a little bit disappointed, I would say. So like the way like the direction go right now. So I hope like everything catch up in the end, and you know, like just delivered the stuff that like you guys promised basically. So yeah, that's gonna be like, you know, my
And
hope
if you
right
guys want to play some Age of Empires, you guys can catch me, because I'm not going to be playing Gwent for the next one. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm also going to be taking a break. Like, I'm sure these guys have seen, I've been playing a lot of like other games, a lot of RTS and medieval style games, just waiting for the big patch to come in, because yeah, I don't see myself playing a lot of this season as well. And yeah, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of the Iron Falcon Report. I'd like to thank Bomblin, Ian, and Zigzag Guy for joining me today here. And of course, I'll have their links in the description below as always. Even Even though, like, again, Zigzag already knew the protocol, so good on him.
Already, like, told myself already.
And other than that, we're going to be signing out, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.
See ya.
Yep.
Guys.